Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me on this beautiful Sunday. Today I have a special card to share with you. This is a card that I actually created for my son's birthday, which was yesterday, April 9th, and it's his 10th birthday. And one of the things I love about the most recent release from Visible Image is these stamps. There are two sets that are perfect boy stamps. This one right here is called Jake Skates, and then there's another set called Max Rocks, but I'm going to use the Jake Skates. And another awesome thing about this most recent release is there are some coordinating dies. There are also coordinating dies for the Alice in Wonderland series, so if you have those and you were wanting the dies, they did have those made as well. And along with that, I'm going to use this stencil, and it's called a Strobes stencil. I cut my Bristol smooth cardstock panel to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to go ahead and just place my stencil and then tape it on the sides. And my son's favorite color is orange, and so I picked out 4 distress oxides in different shades of orange, and the ones that I'm using are spiced marmalade, ripe persimmon, dried marigold, and carved pumpkin. And I went from lightest to darkest, so this one is the carved pumpkin. And I started out by adding a little color around in a circle in the center. And originally I was going to do that, and then I decided to use more of the strobe effect on the stencil. And so then I ended up just going out from the center out to the edge of the card. And so I'm just randomly adding that color so they're not right next to each other, so that I can get those other colors in and give some different shades of orange. I actually messed up on this card. I think it's right here. When I was putting this color down, the stencil moved, and I didn't realize it at first, and so there it did. It moved down a little bit because it is not secure on the back. The stencil is just secured to the mat and not my cardstock. And so here you see me try and adjust this. And so it wasn't like super noticeable, but it did end up kind of motivating me to change the design of the card. Originally, I was just going to take the colors and go through the stencil one time like this, and then I'll show you what I ended up doing, which I think gives it a really pretty effect. This is an awesome stencil. When I pull the stencil away from the paper, you'll see it just gives it a really cool strobe effect, or like a black hole effect, almost like it's going inward. And so here thought I was done, and then I was looking at it and then decided to go ahead and just turn the stencil so that I could get some more lines from that strobe effect. And so I'm just going to go ahead and place it again, and then reapply all of those colors into the spaces that are now white. And I've reapplied all of the colors, and it just gives it a fuller strobe effect, I think. This would be an awesome stencil to do a rainbow strobe effect. I think that would be pretty cool. So I went ahead and I stamped up the stamps that I thought I would use on the card. And I'm coloring this with my Copic alcohol markers, and so I am using a piece of hammer mill cardstock, and I stamped this up in Memento black ink. And then I go ahead and start coloring. For this image, I started with the lightest color first and colored the entire shirt with my lightest orange, and then went in with the darker orange and added some areas of like shadow, I guess. I really try and not worry too much about putting what color where. I'm just coloring with the thought in mind, just to make it look as nice as I can make it look. And so generally, to me, that means I am not worrying about a light source, because like when my son looked at this card, he wasn't like, "Mom, you know what, those shadows, they don't go there." So, and really, it's just, I think, a personal, wanting to do good kind of thing. But I try and do the best that I can. I have really grown more fond of alcohol marker coloring over the years. At first, I couldn't stand it, and I think part of that was just the confusion on how to color. And I finally just learned to not really think about it too much and not stress about it, and I think that has improved my coloring over the years. And so basically I try and add the depth or the shadows and then just color in and almost like trace the areas with the darkest color and then blend that out with the lightest and the mid-tone colors, and that is what I am happy with. And so I finished up the coloring, and now I'm going to grab the dies that coordinate, and I ended up only using a few of the images that I actually stamped, but I wanted to add a black shadow behind the original image just because he's orange and the background's orange, and I wanted to make sure that the little character stood out a little bit better. And so I'm going to kind of offset that black to give a little bit of a shadow effect behind the image, and I've gone ahead and glued that together. And then I'm also using some of the lightning bolts and the happy face. And I think most of the time, probably when people see a happy face like that, it's either like a 70s hippie thing or a happy bouncy ball thing. Whenever I see a happy face, the first thing that comes to my mind is the movies series that they did, The Howling. And it's basically a werewolf. They were werewolf movies, and I am a huge horror movie fan, and I remember watching that as a kid. And so whenever I see a happy face that looks like that in particular, that is the first thing I think of, because if I remember correctly from the movies, that was like a very bad thing to have that happy face be posted somewhere, and you just knew that good things were not happening. So that is what I think of. But I went ahead and stamped up some of those accessory stamps from the stamp set and the word dude. And I also trimmed down the original panel and matted that on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of black cardstock. And then for the happy birthday sentiment, I did put it in the middle of the card. So I just went ahead and I took 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper and cut it in half, and then I added my score line. And then the happy birthday sentiment is actually from the Max Rocks stamp set, and so I went ahead and used that. And then to finish the card off, I added the happy face and the lightning bolts, and that's going to do it. I love these stamp sets because I feel like there's not a huge amount that are really geared towards boys, and so I absolutely love that they have these out. I hope you liked this video. If you did like it or find it informative, please go ahead and give a thumbs up. As always, I thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I hope to see you next time.